Okay, students, I am very much happy that to teach today what is a bipartite graph. Okay, now look at that. The total graph. Now look at that. This small graph. So there are 6 vertices. The vertices are connected by the edges like this. Now look at that. These 3 vertex are in one group, and this is the another group. These 3 are in one group, and these 3 are in the other group. This type of graph we call it as bipartite graph. So the total graph is divided into 2 groups. This is first group, this is the second group. If that is the case, then this graph we call it as bipartite graph. Now this is one group and this is another group. Okay, so this type of group graph we call it as bipartite graph. This is a good example. Let me take another example here, that is G1. I am drawing like this. So the total picture, now V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 and V7. And now I am joining like this. Now look at that. The total graph is divided into 2 groups. This is one group and this is another group. These vertex include in the first group, these vertex are included in the second group. Am I correct? So the first group of the graph consists of V1, V2, V3 vertices, and in the second group we have V4, V5, V6, V7. Such a type of graphs is called a bipartite graph. So bipartite means the total graph can be divided into 2 groups, in which some vertices lies, and in the another group some vertices are lying. Then each vertex in the first group 1, 2, 3 must have some adjacent vertices in the second group. Look at this. This vertex has adjacent to this, this is adjacent to this, this is adjacent to this, this vertex is adjacent to this vertex adjacent to this. Similarly in this picture, this is adjacent to this, this is adjacent to this, this is adjacent to this, and this is adjacent to this. Okay, so what the understanding is that if in the vertex we can divide in a graph, we can divide the total graph into 2 set of vertices. This is first set of vertices, this second set of vertices, such that each vertices in this group should have adjacent vertex in the next group. Then this graph is called a bipartite graph. So a good example is this one and this one. So thank you very much. Okay students, today we are going to discuss about graph theory. Okay, that is the chapter, and it comes in the 3rd unit of your discrete syllabus. Now what is a graph theory? Okay, now look at that. What you are seeing on the screen is vertices V1, V2, V3 and V4 are vertices of this picture, V1, V2, V3, V4, and these vertices, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, were connected by these lines called edges. Okay, so these are called edges. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges are there. So this is a picture consists of vertices and edges. Now Look at that. Now this line joining V1 and V4, I call it as E1, and line joining V2, V1, V2, I say it is E2. Now V2, V4 I am joining, and the edges I call it as E3, and E4 the edges V3, V4, and V5 the edges V2 and V3. So good example for a graph which consists of vertices and edges. Now look at the other picture, like a star, and these are vertices V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5. These are the vertices of this star-like picture, where each vertices are joined by lines. Okay, take for example V1, V3 joined like this, and V3 what is this, V5 is joined like that, V5 to V2, V2 to V3, V4 sorry, and V4 to V1. So this is also a picture consists of vertices and the edges. These are edges. The line joining of the vertices are called edges there. Now look at so these are edges. So line joining V2, V4 is called by then edge E1. Then V3, V5 joined by V2 like that. We have edges for each, and every vertex is joining. So this is a good example of graph where it consists of vertices and edges. Now look at the other picture here. Yes, this is also a good example for a picture or figure which is based on vertices and line joining. Am I right? So we can call it as, so this type of pictures which consists of only vertices and edges are called graphs. Okay, so any graph can be given a mathematical notation like this. So a graph is a two-tuple consists of set of vertices and set of edges, where V is a vertices and E are edges. So any notation like this, G equals V comma E, where V is vertices. Actually this is not this, we must say vertices. Okay, what can I say is that vertices, TISES, vertices. Vertices we say. So this is what we say, yeah, graph. So you must understand that a graph here, I can take that graph something here, and then we can take, this is what graph, I can bring that here, I can maximize this. So this is what a graph theory about. Okay, so to sum up, what I would like to say is that a graph is nothing but a picture consists of vertices and edges, is called a graph. So this is a one graph. I can call it as like a G1. You suppose this is graph 1, and this is graph 2. I can call it as by G2, graph 2. And lastly this I can call it as by G3. So here all G1, G3, G1, G2, G3 are graphs. Mathematically we are denoting like this. Okay. Thank you very much.